Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. Good to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on said Tuesday?
I'm good. Looking forward to the show here. We had the weekend in football was surprising.
No longer any
surprising.
undefeated teams are in the NFL.
No more undefeated teams. So I was surprised by some of the results, and we'll talk about them.
We also have, so MLB playoffs. The AL and NLCSs are both in full swing. Phillies took a 1-0 series start to that NLCS, and then the Rangers up 2-0 in their series.
And they beat Houston at home.
Yeah. So
right, Houston was at home, and now they got to go to Texas. I think Texas got a good chance, huh?
Yeah, no, I did pick the Rangers. I would have hoped it to be Rangers, Diamondbacks. I don't know how the hell the Diamondbacks are going to somehow beat the Phillies. We'll have to wait and see. So far, these playoffs have been a bunch of parity, at least in the MLB. But let's talk about a game that did actually have a lot of parity, which was the Browns and the 49ers. So, hey, the 49ers kicker Jake Moody was not able to make a 41-yard field goal, which made the Browns upset the 49ers 19-17. Also, the 49ers lost Deebo Samuel and CMC in this game for a large chunk of the game. CMC injured in the third quarter, ruled out in the fourth. Deebo Samuel got hurt in the first quarter and could not play the rest of the game. Also, we saw former Panthers quarterback P.J. Walker, the XFL quarterback that replaced Baker Mayfield. He came in and I think outplayed Brock Purdy in this game. So I want to know, did this loss for the 49ers change your opinion of the 49ers and of Brock Purdy?
No.
Interesting.
I think they underestimated the Browns. I think it was sort of like Dallas playing Arizona, right? They went in there and said, we're going to win this game. And they underestimated them, and they paid a price for it. And I will say the Browns' defense played great, right? I mean, they held Brock Purdy to only 125 yards passing, 1 TD, 1 interception. He was 12 of 27. And, the total yards in the game, the 49ers only had 215 yards. I mean, they have a very, very good offense to only get 215 yards, and the 49ers gave up 334, so their defense didn't play as well as it normally plays. So I do think Samuel's getting hurt early in the game was a factor, right, because he's an all-pro, a star player,
right.
And Purdy didn't have him to go to. And I don't know, what is, as an aside here, and P.J. Walker did play pretty well. As an aside, though, what the hell's going on with Deshaun Watson? What is the story there?
He's not. I think it's a rotator cuff issue, but he was medically cleared to play, which then puts into question
his toughness.
I mean, maybe, or where's the conflict there? Is it Deshaun Watson actually saying, I can't play or else I'll get hurt? Because that was one, it was some sort of rotator cuff thing, I believe. So I don't know exactly what's going on with that Deshaun Watson situation. It's very weird how you're medically cleared to play, but also apparently not healthy enough to play the past couple weeks. It makes no sense. I'll say this. We have seen something that I don't think we will ever see, or we won't see a lot of for a very long time, potentially. We saw what the 49ers looked like as an average NFL team, meaning they didn't have 18 different guys that are significantly better than everybody else, where Brock Purdy can dink and dunk his way to victory like he has basically throughout his entire career thus far. And you know what? It's worked. You can't hate it because it does work. He was undefeated when healthy, when he starts and finishes completely healthy for the first time in his entire career. And at least this was his first regular season loss. But this is the first time where, this also puts into perspective the exact same problem the Panthers had where they rely on CMC so much. CMC is I don't even think, humongous even, puts into perspective how much CMC, the 49ers depend on CMC's production. But we saw what the 49ers look like as just an average NFL team. Deebo Samuel got hurt. CMC got hurt. Okay, you still have George Kittle. By the way, George Kittle, 1 target, 1 catch. Was it 1 yard, something like that? He was basically rendered useless.
Defense stepped up, man.
And
They have a pretty good defense. I think they do have a good defense.
They are currently ranked as the #1 defense in the NFL. So
Okay.
I will say that is something to speak about. But also, this is a 49ers team that just beat up on the Cowboys, who had a very, very good defense.
I think the 49ers underestimated the Browns.
I mean, it was bad. And we also saw something that we haven't seen really much of. Brock Purdy was trailing. He needed to come back and win the game. And when the time mattered, he set his team up for a 41-yard field goal, and he shanked it. He missed it. But also, there were several opportunities to put this game away. Brock Purdy looked nervous. He sort of looked like Mac Jones in the pocket, scared to get hit. He was scurrying away. He didn't look calm. He didn't look poised as he has, throughout his career thus far. He looked bad.
Didn't Trent Brown get hurt too? Wasn't he out?
Well, Trent Brown's for the Patriots.
Trent Williams.
He was dealing with an injury, yeah, but I believe he came back into the game. CMC tried to come back into the game, but then, I think on the very, very next play, he came right out. So the fact that Baker Mayfield, but PJ Walker outplayed Brock Purdy on a team that is inferior. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. The 49ers are a far superior team than the Browns are. I think this speaks volumes to exactly what we may see. Now, there is a chance that Debo and CMC both play this week. There is a chance that, so they probably won't miss any real time. There is a chance they do miss a week or two. But as of right now, I saw some right before the show. It looks like they'll be basically fine to go. The question is still up in the air. But it seems like, all signs point to yeah. So
really outplayed him by that much. He had no TD passes and 2 interceptions. I mean, he had 192 yards compared to Purdy's 125.
When it mattered, he made the throws.
Throw 2 interceptions.
He did, but when it mattered, he made the throws that he needed to make. He kept the ball away from Brock Purdy in that offense, which I think is huge, especially with a team like the 49ers who can make these dynamic plays several times over. But in this game, without CMC, the running game was rendered basically useless. The passing game, Brock Purdy didn't have a great game. He really didn't. He couldn't dink his dunk, his way to victory as he has.
Most important pieces were out, and the offensive line was banged up a little bit. With
a tiny bit, but still, though.
Trent Williams.
I mean, Brandon Ayuk, everyone's saying he looks like a bona fide wide receiver 1. Yeah, he's playing wide receiver 2. George Kittle, one of the top tight ends in the game. Cleveland doesn't have, David Njoku is good, but he's not a George Kittle. They have, a top 3 tight end in the game. CMC, they rely way too much on Christian McCaffrey. That is basically the base of their offense. And they have speedsters everywhere that can get open whenever they want. I think we saw something that I don't think we will ever see, probably in a long time, if ever, and that is the 49ers look like every other NFL team that is just about average. Even though their talent doesn't say that they have average talent, because their defense is still spectacular. They still had, Brandon Ayuk and Jennings and George Kittle out there as well. So, and also CMC played an entire half and also played a little bit of the third quarter, got ruled out in the fourth. So CMC was there for basically 3/4 of a game. So, I mean, the fact that the Browns, first of all, stayed in this game and didn't get blown out, when PJ Walker's, I'll also say this. This Browns defense got beaten to shreds by the Ravens. Brock Purdy didn't do that. And the 49ers have a better team top to bottom than the Ravens do. So what happened there? Why couldn't the Browns stop Lamar Jackson when they had DTR in there? Could it be turnovers and PJ Walker just didn't commit as many costly turnovers? Still, like you said, still threw 2 interceptions. DTR didn't have a very good game against the Ravens. But I think the difference is the Browns defense was able to slow down what Brock Purdy, can do, and maybe a agile quarterback like Lamar Jackson was able to bob and weave his way through that Browns defense, which is something maybe Kenny Pickett couldn't do. And by the way, I understand Steelers beat the Browns. However, we saw what the defense did to that Browns offense.
I think the 49ers had some injuries, and they underestimated the Browns going in. And I think they were surprised by how well the Browns played. And that was, Deshaun Watson wasn't going to be in the game. They figured, wow, the starting quarterback's not going to be in there. And they think they underestimated the Browns. That's my view. I don't think they'll let that happen again. You notice the Cowboys bounced back, and they won their game.
Correct.
So
it was close.
I think you'll watch the 49ers. I bet they'll go on I'm predicting a long winning streak now.
to answer this question, then we'll move on to our next topic. I don't think I can allow this to change my opinion because if CMC and Debo are right back in it, I think they'll, like you said, they'll pick up right where they left off. But if Christian McCaffrey or Debo are out for this next week, and we could see a similar result, well, then now we have two games in a row where this offense may look pedestrian. We just saw this one where the offense looked pedestrian, and we saw it actually against the Cowboys. If Dak didn't throw the ball away twice in horrible turnovers, the Cowboys could have beaten Brock Purdy in the playoffs. But they made costly turnovers late in the game when it mattered, and Brock Purdy was able to capitalize. This time, he wasn't able to capitalize.
Yeah. Well,
so
49ers are 5-1.
They are. Yeah. No undefeated teams left in the NFL, though. I found that peculiar. How I think we had 3 going into this week, if I'm not mistaken, and we now have 0. Yeah. So there we go. Congratulations to the Cleveland Browns. I think this season, so far in the offseason with the Deshaun Watson thing and everything speculating and circling around that team, I think I have to retract my Cleveland Clowns nickname now because guess what? They've been playing pretty damn good. Their defense, according to Pro Football Reference, is 1st overall. I got to hand it to them. I have to hand it to them. So no more Cleveland Clowns, at least.
That
for
division,
right now.
that division will be close, I think. Don't you? I mean, there's the Ravens are in that division, the Browns, the Bengals.
Yep. Bengals look like they're picking up.
Yeah.
My only Harvey hot hand win. Wasn't a good week. Went 1-4. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, the law of averages, Nate. It's tough to beat.
I started 4-1, went 4-1, then 3-1-1, 3-1-1, and now I'm 1-4. Or no, sorry, 3-1-1, 2-3, and now 1-4. So you know what? We're gonna pick it right back up on Friday. Hopefully, get right back on track.
A winning streak.
I gotta go 5-0 on Tuesday. So we'll see. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Another shocking game that could have been turning the tables of the NFL. So Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills were able to sneak past the New York Giants with a 14-9 win, which came down to the last play for the Giants. Defensive pass interference call put the Giants on the 1-yard line with a chance to upset the Bills. However, a high thrown pass to tight end Darren Waller could not be completed. And there was a potential defensive holding that could have been called. There was a shot for that to happen, but it wasn't called, and the Bills were able to actually sneak past the New York Giants and get the win, the 14-9 win. So I don't know, were you more shocked at the Giants' competitiveness in this game, or were you more disappointed that the Bills, they were 15-point favorites, could not just wipe the board, wipe the slate clean of the New York Giants?
I was more surprised by the Giants' competitiveness, particularly their defense, playing so well against the Bills' offense, which has been very good in the last few weeks, right? So, actually, I can't say that. They didn't do so hot over in London, right?
The Jaguars own London, though. They do great in London.
Yeah. Well, they stayed over there the week. Right. They had no jet lag. Probably the Bills were jet lagged in that game. Yeah. So, again, I think the Bills were maybe they underestimated the Giants a little bit. You see that? I mean, the Giants 1-4 going into the game, right? And the Bills a winning record. So I think that they underestimated him. And Daniel Jones wasn't in the game. Tyrod Taylor starting, and Tyrod Taylor used to play for the Bills.
Right.
Right. So I'm sure he was pumped up to try to beat him. He had a pretty good game, 24-38, 200 yards. Allen didn't have such a hot game, 19 of 30, 169 yards, 2 DDs, 1 interception. Those 2 DDs came in the fourth quarter. They had to have them to win. They didn't score any points.
They were getting shut out
through 3 quarters. They were getting shut out through 3 quarters by the Giants. So I think that's a confidence builder for the Giants defense for sure. On offense, I don't know how long Jones is going to be out. But Taylor, he had 200 yards passing, didn't have any interceptions, and he got reamed out by Dable with the mistakes he made there. And at the end of the first half, right? They could have had 3 points, which, as it turned out, wouldn't have won the game, but still would have made it closer. I got Dable. He's got to calm down, man. That guy is a big guy. He's going to have a heart attack out on the field. Gets so upset, yelling and screaming at people. I mean, save it for the locker room. I don't think that's appropriate to be reaming the player out in front of all the fans. But on passing, Diggs, 100 yards. And so he came up big when they needed it at the end. And Slayton only had 69 yards. And the total yards, the Giants 317 to 297 for the Bills. I mean, that's a confidence builder for the Giants' offense. Maybe their offensive line is starting to get it together a little bit, right? Because the Bills have a very good defense too. And Von Miller he's back in there now, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
They should be even better. Barkley had 93 yards rushing, Cook 71, so there wasn't much difference there. It was a pretty close game. And surprisingly so, right? 15-point spread, and we picked the Bills.
Minus 15-point underdogs.
We picked the Bills. We both picked the Bills.
Well, I'll say this. I asked, I've been in constant arguments with my friends over the course of basically every single NFL season when it comes to whether or not Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. That's a constant argument that I'm going to revisit, that we will revisit as a show in about 2 years when he's eligible for the Hall of Fame. That's going to be a good discussion. But yeah, we discuss everything from Patriots to, the 49ers, everything. So I talked to him. I asked him a serious question. I said, do you think if Daniel Jones was the quarterback, they pull out with this win? He said no. So I asked the follow-up question. Did Tyrod Taylor give the Giants the best chance to win as of right now? And he said, yeah. He admitted yes, because he's done with Daniel Jones. He understands exactly what I think a lot of people maybe finally understand, and what I've understood for at least the past year or so, especially coming out of that rebirth year for Daniel Jones. He's not all that. He's not great. Is he good? With a lot of protection and with a lot of weapons, I believe he could be. But that's kind of what average to bad quarterbacks need. They need a great offensive line and great weapons, great play calling. What you mentioned it, Brian Daboll. That's the second time the Seahawks game he reamed Daniel Jones for that interception, and now he's reaming Tyrod Taylor for doing that weird audible option on the goal line at the end of the half. And by the way, people could argue that defensive hold all you want. You're going to need to basically mug the guy to get 2 defensive penalties in a row. That ain't going to happen. It's very unlikely. This game was not lost on the goal line. Technically it was, but this game was lost at the end of the half, I guess, on the goal line. So you could technically say that. But it was lost at the end of the half. That first half where he optioned it out, and that was just a horrible play. Horrible decision to do that. That's basically what lost the game. You could argue the defensive holding all you want. I don't really care. This Giants team, the offensive line did better. And we could really see what a true veteran in the NFL looks like in Tyrod Taylor. I mean, he was getting the ball out quick. He was getting the ball out with timing. He was getting the ball out accurately, especially against a Bills defense, like you said, that has Von Miller on it, amongst a bunch of other great pieces. The Giants' offensive line pass blocking efficiency, according to PFF, is ranked 31st. 31st. Only 0.7 efficiency percentage points higher than the Tennessee Titans, who currently have the worst pass blocking efficiency offensive line. Josh Allen looked bad. He looked pretty bad. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he looked, the Giants defense did step up. People are wondering if Wink Martindale should leave, should he get fired, whatever the case may be. I think this is a confidence boost for that defense because you were able to slow down a team that, the Bills always win September, but they were averaging 41 points a game to start off the year. First 3-4 weeks, they're averaging 41 points a game. Beat up on a team that just scored 70 against Denver. Shut them down. I think it was, 48-20 in that game? Completely made them irrelevant in that game, too. With Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, with Devon Achane out there, with Raheem Mostert. With all these pieces, they shut them down. The defense and Josh Allen putting up points. This time, the Giants' defense made him nervous. They pressured him on a little bit over 40% of his dropbacks. However, the Giants' offensive line allowed Tyrod Taylor to be pressured on 43% of his dropbacks, and he was pretty good. 7-13, 65 yards, no turnovers. That's what you want with a bad offensive line and with not good weapons. Just be slightly efficient. And that's exactly what Tyrod Taylor was. And I found it very, very interesting how my friend would actually say that Tyrod Taylor gave them a better chance to win this game than Daniel Jones did. Because I think that speaks volumes to maybe a mistake that Brian Daboll makes. And I'll say that about Brian Daboll yelling at his players. What image do you think that puts, out?
I think it's bad.
Dude, I think it puts, an image out there of, don't look at me. It's not my problem. My players aren't that good. I'm trying to give him a good play call, but it can't be on me.
And that's bad. That's bad for the morale of the team.
I would completely agree. So it's going to be interesting to see if, because right now, I believe it was today, the Giants worked out Matt Barkley. I believe he played for the Bears before, and Ian Book, who played for the Saints in recent years. So we're going to need to see exactly what the Giants are looking at, because if they don't think Tyrod Taylor...
Would they go get another quarterback when they have Tyrod Taylor played well?
He did, but...
Who's the backup for Tyrod Taylor?
That's what I was going to say. I'll look it up right now. The Giants currently do not have a backup quarterback to Tyrod Taylor. So they
played with no backup quarterback in the game?
They played with no backup quarterback in the game. It was Tyrod Taylor or basically bust. So we're going to need to see exactly, what the Giants do. I think getting Matt Barkley or Ian Book or even Tommy DeVito. Oh, no, that's what it is. Tommy DeVito was the backup, but he got moved back down to the practice squad. Or got released or whatever the case may be.
How long is Jones going to be out?
There's no exact timeline on it, but he still is feeling the symptoms of that previous injury that he had, which sidelined him for this game. So it's going to be interesting to see if Daniel Jones can't go and they need to go to Tyrod Taylor or bring in Matt Barkley or Ian Book. Do you call and say, hey, let's go out and get a quarterback next year? But then you can't because you
can't. They already gave him 4 years, $160 million. They're not going to give up on him. They're not going to give up on him anytime soon.
There is a potential out after next season where you don't take on a huge amount of cap money.
Okay, so they're not giving up on him now. We're only in week 7 coming up
week
here,
7,
right?
Yeah.
And he has all next year, too. So they're not giving up on Daniel Jones anytime soon, nor should they.
I think he should,
I don't think they should give up on him.
I've been saying this since the offseason. They made a huge mistake.
I don't think they should give up on him.
Why not?
He played well last year, and
but what have we seen this season?
He's had no protection at all. He's been sacked. I bet he's been sacked more than any other quarterback this season.
Last time we talked about it, he was second behind Sam Howell, and I'll look it up right now. This game may have not helped him in that argument.
Well, he didn't play, so he couldn't get sacked.
As of right now, the sack leader. I guess these numbers aren't updated because it still says Sam Howell at 34. I don't think that's accurate. I'll find a number sometime later on the show, if not right now. Let's see if I can get it very quickly right now for us. Because previously, when we talked about this issue before, it was Sam Howell. Yeah. And right now, the leader is still Sam Howell. Still Sam Howell.
And who's second?
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, well,
but it's not that close.
And he didn't even play. He didn't even play in last game, and he's still second in the number of sacks he's been sacked.
Yeah.
No, the guy's taking a beating this year, Nate, and now he's out hurt.
Yeah,
as a result of it. So
I will say that.
I haven't given up on him.
I have. I mean, as soon as I heard, first of all, he was asked for $45 million.
Let's remember who else you gave up on.
Baker.
Right, you gave up on him.
Like I said, when I told you poking me with that stick.
Yeah, well,
every time I gain leverage, what about Baker Mayfield?
You can't be too quick. You got to give these guys a fair chance. And Daniel Jones is playing.
I've tried to see
basically no offensive line and no running backs either for a couple of games. No. Barkley wasn't even in there.
No, they had a good running attack in this game. They had over 100
in this game
yards.
They did, but not in the prior games. Barkley was in there in this game. He had 93 yards.
No, he played very, very well, and he was actually a large part of the reason why the Giants were still in this game. But I mean, I will give you this. Overall, they do have the 21st running game in the NFL. They also have the 31st in passing. What did we see last year? Daniel Jones, 32nd in average depth of target. He was dinking and dunking his way. That's why I came up with the nickname Danny Dink and Dunk.
Well, they ought to go back to that because it worked pretty well for him last year.
We saw what Tyrod Taylor did. He was dinking and dunking his way, and it was this close. It was that close.
Well, if that works, use it. There's no problem with that.
But it can't win you the big game, though. That's what we saw. When you can only dink and dunk against a superior defense, the Eagles beat the crap out of them.
You think the Bills are a good enough team to make it to the Super Bowl?
No, I said I don't know if you were on the show. You may have been off that show. I said the Bills Super Bowl window is shut. I say it's closed, locked, sealed, steel door. I said it was shut.
And why?
Josh Allen's still turnover prone. Yes, he has a phenomenal arm. His decision making I draw into question. They're way too reliable on one receiver, and that's Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis disappears. They have a developing run game, but they don't have a top-tier run game. So that also makes it a super one-dimensional team if Josh Allen is your primary runner and also your primary passer. The running game is developing, though. It's slightly above average.
I think Cook is pretty good.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, it's growing, but it's slightly above average right now throughout the year. Could that still improve? You might have to if Josh Allen, if he's dealing with a little bit of a turnover issue, you may need to start handing the ball off a little bit more. But yes, James Cook, 75 carries, 363 yards, 4.8 yards an attempt. Believe me, that he's doing very, very well.
Yeah.
But they don't have, maybe that backup running back when Cook gets gassed that could come in. I mean,
Damian Harris.
He just had that injury. He's okay now. I believe he got released from the hospital. But Latavius Murray is their backup running back. I don't know. Could they improve their running game? Sure.
You think they win the division?
Yes. Yes. I think it'll come down to the.
I don't know. Miami.
I think it'll come down to that game. Whether or not whoever wins that game, I think would win the division.
Well, the game between them is in Miami.
It's the last game of the season,
Yeah,
so it could come down to that very, very last game. Whoever wins this, could potentially, I'm not saying this, but could get that number 1 seed in the AFC if the Chiefs, that offense stays sort of mellow and doesn't have the gigantic spike that I think a lot of people were expecting from a Mahomes-led offense. But I think it could come down to the last game, and I'm going to say the Bills take. I'm going to say the Bills take the division. I still think they hold that AFC East crown.
Okay, but you don't think they'll make it to the Super Bowl?
Right there. I say the Super Bowl window is shut. They'll either lose to, I don't know, first round is a bit rough. If they run into the Bengals, Dolphins, or Chiefs, they're done. They're done. Especially the Chiefs.
You think the issue is more the players or the coaching? The fact that they seem kind of inconsistent. They play down to the level of their competition.
That's coaching.
That's coaching. And they make a lot of mistakes. They make mistakes on offense.
The mistakes, though, are Josh Allen. The playing down to competition, that's coaching. That's coaching. Unless the players are just like, oh, no, we got him on their own accord. If the coaches are like, yo, let's go. This is a week-to-week game. Anyone can win in any given week. And the players themselves, they're in their headspace. They're thinking, oh, it's the Giants. No offensive line, no weapons. We got this. We're going to take care of them. And that's the performance you put out. If that's, we'll never know that for sure. But if it's a coaching thing where they're not keeping up the same level of high motor play, then that is on coaching. But the mistakes, though, Josh Allen, we've seen him turnover prone. That led the league last year in red zone interceptions. You can't do that. You're giving away 3 points or 7 points. Free points, basically. You can't do that for your team. All right, coming up, the Patriots fall once again, but can the season still be salvaged? And also, Zach Wilson and the Jets upset the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. Is this just the beginning to Zach Wilson's redemption story? And of course, we make our Thursday night picks. Jaguars and Saints. We'll make those picks right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic, which, of course, we're talking about the Patriots. It was a pretty rough one. Let's switch that. I accidentally hit the button.
Bulls. I got it right on my hat.
They did win 6. I know, of course, but you can't live in the past when it comes to football. It was pretty bad. The Patriots fall to 1-5, which is the worst record they've had about since 1995. It's the worst start that they've ever had.
Terrible.
But this is coming off of 2 historic losses for Bill Belichick. They looked a little bit better this time around. So I want to know, based on what you saw on Sunday against the Raiders, Josh McDaniels up against Belichick. Josh McDaniels moves to 3-0 against Belichick. Can the season still be saved?
Well, I think it's a very, very long shot. I mean, there's 11 games left. They'd have to go 8-3 to win 9 games, right? The 9-8 might give you a chance to be in the playoffs. So I'd say they still have a chance, but they got to win this week, and they've got to play the Bills, and that's. And is it Bills at the Bills or at home? I'm not sure.
Let me look that up for you real quick. That for this upcoming week, it is home.
It's home.
Then you go to Miami after that.
I think they'll be competitive in that game. I think it's going to be very hard for them to win. Well, so if they lose a game, I think that they won't. They have a chance for the playoffs.
I do want to get to this.
I mean,
though.
the percentage chance of somebody 1-5 making the playoffs is
think it's 4.5%, something like that.
Terrible.
It may be even worse than that.
Yeah. So their chances are they've dug themselves a very, very deep hole.
Yeah.
They can't see light out of it right now. So they've got to win on Sunday.
They do. Yeah. They do. I do want to get to we've heard this from head coach Bill Belichick before, but this is Bill Belichick in the post game of the Raiders' loss.
We had penalties to start the game and had 3 penalties in the last 2 minutes, so it's not a good formula. This game's a lot different than the last 2 games, so I don't think you can compare those. I think we, as a team, we all responded. They all responded pretty well, competed well. We just, like I said, we just didn't make enough plays to win. On offense and defensively, there's certainly some things we could have handled a little better than we did.
I'd say so. Now, I'm going to talk about this because I think it is important. Mac Jones looked better. Mac Jones looked much, much better than he has in I wouldn't say the entirety of the season, because week 1, he threw like 55 passes. He had over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns for the first time in his career. He looked good in week 1. He looked okay in week 2, but he was mistake-riddled. I will say that. And this game, yes, he didn't have the numbers, but he looked better. There was one major thing that I saw that I don't know if we talked about on the show. We may have talked about it, in between shows. Mac Jones looked much better in his delivery of throwing the football. And we talked about this during the game. What the hell is with that long-ass drive? 9 minutes and 30 seconds? This was Mac Jones talking about why that drive was so damn long.
Honestly, I just try to get the call and call it in the huddle, and the coaches do a good job of managing all that stuff. So I did want to push the tempo, obviously a little bit more in just the operation and everything, but we were subbing a lot, and that's part of putting pressure on the defense is playing fast and getting in and out of the huddle to put the pressure on the defense.
So he says, I was getting the call, giving it in the huddle, subbing out a bunch. I don't know why you would do that so many times. Play some sort of hurry-up offense, do something.
No, he was doing what the coaches told him to do, right?
Doing what the coach would tell him. So, I don't know if that's blame deflecting.
I don't know why they didn't go to the hurry-up offense.
I think that's to minimize Mac Jones's
They needed another score. They needed 2 scores.
They did.
And as it turned out, they did have the ball with enough time to do something. And he did make the throw that would have gotten him within 6 yards of the here it is. Right? Look at this.
I did some math. It's about 14 yards.
Right in his hands. He dropped it.
Devon, you know what his reasoning was for this? He said it hit my fingertips. No. Look at the slow-mo. It hits both hands.
Yeah.
It hits the hands.
Yeah, well, if it hits your fingertips, pal, you got to catch it.
You got a 3-year extension to do that.
Yeah. That was I couldn't believe that. I mean, that's a great throw. Look at that. Perfect.
And what I was
right
talking
on his
about
hands. He throws it. The 2 defenders there, right?
Yeah.
And he puts it right where he needs to, and the guy did not catch it.
You can't throw that better.
Can't throw it better than that. That is what a shame.
I'll replay this one more time.
They probably would have won the game.
They probably
would have gotten another 6-7 yards and been able to kick a field goal.
I will say this though. This was a beautiful play by Mac Jones. I want to replay it for our YouTube audience here. So look at what he does, right? He gets pressured on both sides, but he steps up in the pocket and steps into this deep throw. That is something we have not seen really at all this season because he was getting pressured on basically every single throw. Except this time, he was pressured on the lowest he's been, I think, in several games. He got pressured, I think, 19% of the time. Mm-hmm. He was able to step into throws. He delivered a bunch on these throws. And Devontae Parker, he had a terrible game. Timing was off. I'm going to show you a play right now. This one, he didn't even care. This was like a dead route, a weird route. He just slowed down, stopped. Mac Jones threw it to him at the top of the route. Devontae Parker cut in. He's being lazy out there. He just stops and decided to make a cut. And I don't even think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He had one catch, I believe, for 7 yards.
I guess he didn't think the ball was coming to him.
I guess not. I mean,
but that doesn't mean you don't run your route.
I completely agree.
I mean, if you just go out there and make it seem like you're not going to get the ball, and that the defender can watch somebody else. It's that guy's poor. I hope he gets benched for a while or something.
Well, you can't
bring up
do that.
Tayshaun Boutte.
You can't do that. But I will say this, and I think this will be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to stick by it. This game is not on that one Mac Jones interception because they got 3 points off of it. You include the safety, they still would have lost. This game was actually on Belichick's defense because the Raiders had 6 red zone trips. 6. They did go 1 for 6, but they still had 6 times. They got to the red zone 6 times. They just got there twice. The time of possession, while it is not as large as it was or seemed throughout the game because of that 9-minute drive the Patriots had, I believe it was the second to last drive of the entire game, they were getting dominated in time of possession. If I'm not mistaken, I'll bring up the box score here on ESPN. If I'm not mistaken, Josh Jacobs ran the ball 25 times. They had 33 total run attempts. They didn't do much with it. They averaged 2.5 yards a carry, but still, you run it 33 times, you're easily, that is obviously trying to run clock. That's what the Commanders did last season at the time against the undefeated Eagles. I think they ran it 40-something times. Just so you don't put the ball back in the superior offense's hand. Now, the Patriots, this was for me, this was a better game. They could run the ball much better. 4.4 yards a carry, had 2 touchdowns on the play. They had 83 rushing yards. Mac Jones looked much more poised in the pocket, stepping into his throws. The offensive line played better. Shockingly. Very, very shockingly. Kendrick Bourne, phenomenal performance. 10 catches, 89 yards, 11 targets. Because guess what? He was the only one that is quick enough, at least in this game, to at least have a little bit of separation. Devontae Parker, easily. He's been the worst wide receiver in separation for the past 3 seasons. You give him a 3-year extension, who knows why he can't separate. The one time he gets open. The one time, I'm going to replay it just because I want to. The one time he gets open. It was a beautiful throw, stepped into his throw. You can't deliver this ball better, and it hits you perfectly. And you can't come down with it. So for me, this is about Belichick's defense. They couldn't stop anything. Jacoby Myers, great day. Crucial 3rd down catches. Beautiful touchdown catch. He was wide open. Makes you seem like, what the hell are the Patriots doing? And I found it. I have their draft picks of this prior draft. The one glaring need the Patriots had, especially when Jacoby Myers was not going to be a part of their long-term solution. Go out and get a wide receiver. They had an opportunity to get Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnson. I think there's another receiver that went early. And this was their draft pick until they got a receiver. Christian Gonzalez. That's a perfectly fine pick. Keon White, he's been okay.
That's pretty good too.
He's been okay, not great. Marty Mapu, he's a defensive back. You don't really see much of him. Jake Andrews, I believe he's a backup center. Chad Ryland in the 4th round. He's 50-50 on kicks. By the way, Nick Foles, the one they got off of, has been perfect this season. Antonio Mafi. He's, I believe, the 2nd worst lineman in the NFL right now. And then you got to get Tayshaun Boutte, who's played 1 game, who's been a healthy scratch for 5 straight weeks after that the toe touching incident twice, I believe at the end of the first half, and then the very, very last play for the Patriots in that game. Then you go out and get a punter, Bryce Behringer. He's had several snaps. He's been punting the hell out of the ball. He's been pretty good. And then you go out and get Demario Douglas, who graded wise has been your best receiver. Then you go out and get Amir Speed and Isaiah Bolden. Isaiah Bolden hasn't played. He hasn't started a single game. He hasn't even played. And Amir Speed showed up in that Saints game. He was out there because you were getting blown out. You had to put in your reserves. You're not drafting for what you need. You're drafting for what you're comfortable with, and that's offensive linemen, special teams, and defense. And you know what? Yeah, they brought up Jalen Reagor. Jalen Reagor. And by the way, the Malik Cunningham thing. People were like, oh, Mac Jones is going to get benched for Malik Cunningham. He could be the quarterback one. He did a great job handing the ball off and getting sacked.
Yeah.
Great job, Malik Cunningham. And guess what? He's staying as quarterback too. So maybe will he be more involved in the passing game as a receiver and as a quarterback? Potentially. I mean, that's why he's quarterback too and not an emergency quarterback, because if you're an emergency quarterback, you can only play QB, and he's a wide receiver quarterback mix.
Oh, maybe he can get some separation out there.
Maybe.
How about Thornton? They only
had one catch.
He one catch. They didn't put him in much.
He didn't really do nothing. Ezekiel Elliott, like, the Patriots are so unlucky.
He had a 74-yard touchdown,
That
which
got
called
back
by a crappy call on Hunter Henry for holding. I don't think he was holding on that play.
I think he was.
I wish I had that clip, because I don't think he was holding on that play.
Could have been exaggerated if
it
the
was
defensive
exaggerated
back,
by the defensive player.
Yeah, but I mean, he jumped back, was kind of holding, but whatever the case may be. But that was the type of play that could get some, it could raise some self-esteem on the team, where you have a big explosive play from a guy like Zeke, who, by the way, had a great game. Yes, he with 4.9 yards a carry, 1 touchdown. Oh, that's great for him. He had the touchdown. That's what the Patriots, at least in my mind, that's what they got him to do. On the goal line, you either hand the ball off, or in this case, you wildcat it. He runs right through the defensive and offensive line. There you go, scoring for a touchdown. That's what he should be used for now. And he actually had a great game. And that big play would have been huge for the Patriots, morale. But unfortunately, they're still stuck in no man's land when it comes to trying to find a win. Now, here's where I talk about this season can be salvaged. Now, while right now this game does look promising, when you look at it, Mac Jones is stepping into throws. He looked much more confident. The offensive line played much better. Kendrick Bourne had a great game, breakout game so far this season. I'll say this. There is a glimmer of hope. The Lions, with a tremendously poor defense, I believe they're the 32nd ranked defense last season, they went 1-6. They went 1-6. And there's been 2 teams so far this season to stop the Dolphins and at least slow them down. The Bills stopped them. The Patriots slowed them down. So there's a chance you can go 1-6 against the Bills and still have a shot for the playoffs. Still.
Well, look at what's left of their schedule. They still have a very hard schedule.
Right. You go up against, so it's at Dolphins after week 8. And then
that's going to be a very hard. They never win there, right? They haven't won there in years.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they could be what? So they could be 1-7 then.
Could be, but I'm saying the Patriots are the only team so far to slow down the Dolphins. Yeah. The Bills stopped them. The Bills stopped them.
If they win against the Dolphins in Miami this year, we'll have a celebration. Okay. Okay, who's next?
Do a Super Bowl parade in Foxborough. Then you go at home, Commanders and Colts. By the way, Anthony Richardson out for the year.
Those are 2 games.
Out for the year. And Gardner Minshew just had a 3-interception game. Very, very poor
Both those games are at home?
Both those games are at home.
No, they have a chance, those 2.
Have a chance. At Giants with no offensive line, and who knows, Tyrod Taylor may still be in there.
They have a chance in that game.
Have a chance. Chargers.
I think they probably have a chance there, too.
Mac Jones has played pretty well. There was a game, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. They were down, and Mac Jones and the defense definitely helped. But Mac Jones stepped up in that game, made some crucial throws in that game. At Steelers. Right now, the Steelers have no offense. Their defense, TJ Watt. Yikes. That is going to be something. Then, do I want to say it?
The Bills again.
Home at the Chiefs.
Home against the Chiefs. Oh.
Then you go at Broncos. Who the hell knows?
No, they should be able to win that one.
At Bills. Yikes.
No, yeah.
And then
the Jets.
Does the streak continue to 8 years? To 16 straight games.
They'll be playing them at home, right?
At home, yeah.
At home, yeah.
So the streak may end. Who knows? If Zach Wilson is what we've been seeing from him, who knows? This could be the new Zach Wilson to continue. And I don't know what the
Well,
Patriots
maybe
can
the
exactly
schedule
do.
gets a little easier for them based on what we've seen now, but
Based on
I
winning
still
and
think it's tough when you're 1-5, man. Digging
Yeah.
a hole like that, it does not help when you're thinking about your owner who's told them, you got to make the playoffs this year.
Right.
So it doesn't look good.
Well, based on win percentage, the Patriots have the 7th hardest remaining schedule. The Bengals are number 1, by the way.
Yeah.
Giants are 12th. Just thought I'd throw that out there for people who said the Giants is, tough schedule. You have the 12th hardest schedule, slightly above average. So, for me,
I'm still rooting for the Patriots.
Of course.
I'll root for them all the whole season. They're
this
my team.
was promising.
They've always been my team. I
was
appreciate all the
promising.
winning in the past, and I'm a dedicated fan. But I just think they've dug themselves an awfully deep hole.
This was
They
the
need to
most
have
amount
a
of
little bit of consistency.
You can't.
They
You
just
can't.
every time they get something going, they make a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very frustrating.
It is. No, absolutely it is. This is the most passing yards the Patriots have given up all season.
And you thought when Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, hey, we got a chance here.
Hoyer
Then
comes in,
Hoyer
makes, like,
comes
a
in
huge
and
pass.
rips them apart.
6 of 9 for like over 100 yards. Yeah. It's rough. But rough in New England. But you know what? Like you said, there's open up this topic. 6 Super Bowls.
That's right.
You got, but it's what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, exactly.
You got
They don't have the players they had when they were winning 6 Super Bowls. That's
Correct.
for sure. And they did show a little more enthusiasm this week than they have in the past. They didn't look like they were sleepwalking out there.
Offense
At least.
looked better. Offense looked better.
But they need to get enthusiasm. They need leaders, players that are leaders that rev up the players and give them a pep talk. You used to see that. Devin McCourty used to do it. Tom Brady did it. They need some leadership there.
And where I think that comes down to is, I think when you coach the same way you always have, but the results are not winning playoff games and winning Super Bowls, and it's now at the point where you're barely winning or maybe not even winning games, regular season games, something needs to change about your coaching, your message, something. You can't be giving the same brutal coaching if it's going to account for nothing. If it's going to account for more losses and being ripped in the media than it is about actually winning football games. That's why Brady could take the criticism and then go out there and throw 400 yards and 3 touchdowns and win games and go out and win Super Bowls. But now when you can't even win any games and now your defense can't stop the run, right now your defense is giving up the most passing yards they have all season to Jimmy G and Brian Hoyer.
Well, let's remember that Matthew Judon is out, and they do not get pressure on the quarterback.
Correct.
That is part of that's always been a problem for them. With the edge rusher and the linebackers they have now, last year they did a good job getting sacks, right? They had lots of sacks.
I think Judon had 13 and a half sacks last year.
This year, nothing. I mean, Judon had 4.5 sacks before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 4, but
so losing him is huge.
absolutely. And Christian Gonzalez, we've
losing
seen,
him is huge too.
Although I will say, J.C. Jackson.
Hey, had a bad pass interference call there.
He did.
Right.
No, but he did a pretty good job. I think it was in the red zone. It may have been at the end of the half, or it was somewhere around there. I think it was Jimmy G he tried to throw a 50-50 ball, but J.C. Jackson had that on lockdown, and I think
he did play. He played well, but it was unfortunate he got that pass interference.
And hold on,
call.
I want to make this point. I did say J.C. Jackson doesn't need to know the playbook. Just say. But it's like the basketball thing where you play a 4-and-1, have that one guy just chase the guy with the ball around. That's what I said on Friday's show. Have J.C. Jackson just mirror Devontae Adams all game. And I think that's what they did in some crucial situations, which I think is a very, very smart idea. So, who knows? All right, let's get into maybe the shock. If the Browns didn't shock you, what about the Jets and the Eagles? So the Jets were able to upset the Eagles in maybe the best game that we've seen in a very long time from the Jets defense and the Jets offense being in synchronicity. They were able to upset the Philadelphia Eagles with a score of 20-14 on a late game interception, which set up a Breece Hall rushing touchdown for the New York Jets to put away the Philadelphia Eagles. The big question, this is a new Zach Wilson we've seen. Do you think this offense, and the team in general can stay competitive for the rest of the season? Because we saw Aaron Rodgers, no crutches, no nothing, maybe a little bit of a pronounced limp. He was throwing footballs pregame.
Well, he's not going to get back in there anytime soon.
Do you think the Jets could actually stay competitive and basically have a shot at making the playoffs potentially with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
I do. Actually, I do. I think that they've learned that they can't expect too much from Zach Wilson or put too much pressure on him. Make him more of a game manager. He was 19 of 33 for 186 yards. He didn't make any mistakes. And just rely on that defense they have, which is getting better every week. I mean, their defense is really good. Right. And they have some good players on defense. I mean, they did give up quite a few yards to the Philadelphia, but they bent, but they didn't break. Right. Hurts was 28 of 45 for 280 yards, 1 TD, but 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Right. That's what cost them. They did have 348 yards, but those turnovers killed them. And the rushing yards, there wasn't any running in this game, basically. Hurts was the leading rusher for the Eagles of 47 yards, and Hall was the leading rusher for the Jets with only 39. So the Jets didn't have many yards. They only had 244 yards, but their defense is what's keeping them in these games. And now with Zach Wilson playing a little bit smarter, and they're not putting him in a situation where he can hurt him too much. And maybe he's maturing a little bit. You know, he's been taking more responsibility. I think they got a chance. I really do. They're 3-3 now.
They are 3-3. It's going to be interesting to see what the Jets could do. I will say this. Zach Wilson, like you said, hasn't been making the big mistakes. Hasn't been throwing games away like he has in the past. He made some pretty nice throws. Garrett Wilson had a couple very, very nice catches. The 2-point conversion was a laser to Randall Cobb, who got blasted on that 2-point conversion. But, hey, Zach, I don't know if this is the Zach Wilson we will see in the future, but I think this is the version of Zach Wilson that Robert Saleh in interviews was talking about. This was the Zach Wilson that he's seen in practice that's making these throws, that's making these plays. But I think this game goes more so to the defense. The Eagles consistently, even since last year, had the number 1 offensive line. They were dealing with a little bit of injuries for this offensive line. Lane Johnson dealing with an injury. They had to put in Jack Driscoll. He had a horrible game. Lowest graded offensive lineman in this entire game. Their offensive line was not good. Could not help Jalen Hurts. Timing-wise, Jalen Hurts is pressured on over 40% of his dropbacks. Meanwhile, Zach Wilson was only pressured on about, I have the number here, 37.5%, which is pretty low for what we've seen of Zach Wilson's games in this offensive line, what it's done to Zach Wilson, not giving him any, elite protection like, the Eagles have had, like Jared Goff has had, like the 49ers have had in the past. So the fact that, sort of the roles were reversed here, where Jalen Hurts was the one under constant pressure, making the crucial mistakes, and Zach Wilson was the one who seemed, calm and cool in the pocket. Yes, he did take some pretty hard-hitting sacks. He got sacked 5 times in this game. His confidence didn't seem to waver whatsoever. He got the ball to his playmakers and gave them an opportunity to go out and make those plays. Nearly half his yards were yards after the catch, so he's not trying to make the big-time throw. Just get it to Garrett Wilson. Get it to players who can make big plays, and that's exactly what this team did. And you know what? Like you said, this team, I really think it's just about bending just until you just got to not screw up. And I think what the Jets have done, through Zach Wilson's tenure in the past and maybe to start the season with Aaron Rodgers being down, because they made their playbook for Aaron Rodgers. They were playing, I feel like, to not lose, not to go out and win games, but instead just do enough so you don't lose. And I feel like that has cost them a couple of games here. And I think Zach Wilson said after the Chiefs game, this is the first time a coach believed in me. I don't understand that because Robert Saleh was hyping you up for your entire time with the Jets. I don't understand how that's the first time
that after this game.
No, after the Chiefs game, I believe. And the Chiefs game, he was actually I saw this crazy stat that was going viral on social media. He was the first person to statistically outplay Patrick Mahomes in basically every single category, which I found that pretty interesting. So after the Chiefs game, he gained a lot of confidence because once you realize he outplayed Patrick Mahomes, that flicks a light bulb in your head and okay, this is how we're going to win games. This is how we're going to get stuff done. And now I feel like they're playing more to win and not playing that cautious football of just not trying to screw up and trying to not lose games. This game was great, though. Defensively, the Jets were all over Jalen Hurts. Now, it was only 2 sacks, but disrupting the passing lanes, a couple
3
blocks,
interceptions.
3 interceptions. You also got a fumble recovery as well. I mean, we knew this Jets defense was good. We expected that. This Jets defense, it's improving. It's improving every single week. And although I will say this, Sauce Gardner, not the same defensive, not the same lockdown corner he was last season. But still, though, they have enough players on defense. They have pretty good depth to make big plays happen, and they did in this game. But I will also say this. I've mentioned this a few times on the show now. This Eagles team is nowhere near where it was last season. Nowhere near it. Defense isn't as good. It went from being, basically first in every category to being bottom 10 to bottom 5 in a few categories as well. The offense, I don't think it's still. I still don't think it knows what it wants to do. Is it a run-heavy team? Is it a pass-heavy team? Are they a 50-50 hybrid, blend of that? They have no idea what they're trying to do. They
lost a lot of coaches.
They did. Jonathan Gannon on defense, Shane Steichen on offense. Yeah. And we saw, now unfortunately Anthony Richardson is probably going to be out the rest of the season, but what he was doing with Anthony Richardson, making that offense look explosive and dynamic and let Anthony Richardson, play up to his strengths, it was fun to watch. It was very, very fun to watch. And he did it, same thing.
What kind of injury did Richardson
I think it's
get?
A shoulder injury.
Yeah.
I think
I guess I saw that.
Shoulder injury. But Shane Steichen did that with Jalen Hurts. We saw that last season, what that offense looked like. Explosive plays, big-time plays, running when you need to. He did that with Justin Herbert. When he was,
you think if the Jets can make the playoffs and Zach Wilson has a decent season and maybe they win one playoff game, that Zach Wilson will be the quarterback next year?
Not a chance. You spent way too much money on Rodgers. He's making all these big
they could trade
scenes. Who wants a 40? Was it? He'd be 41 in that December. Who would want a quarterback who just came off an Achilles injury?
Yeah.
I don't know how many 41-year-old coming off an Achilles injury. That's not exactly,
You think he can beat out Zach Wilson?
1,000% yes.
Okay,
just based on
we'll see.
history.
Zach Wilson's getting better, I would say. He's
getting much better.
He is feeling it. And,
now, completion percentage is still extremely low.
Yeah.
But he's not making the mistakes. We saw it against the Patriots. I don't know if Bill Belichick just has his number. Last season against the Patriots, I think he had 3 interceptions. There were this is embedded in my mind for years to come. I don't know if he tried to throw it away or make a play, but it was like on the sideline, Devin McCourty, that may have been one of the easiest interceptions he's ever had. Did he try to throw it away and couldn't get it there?
I don't know.
Did he try to make
what
a play?
He was doing against Belichick's defense. He was lost.
He's been lost basically every single time. That punt return.
Then he said it wasn't his fault. They lost the game.
Oh yeah. Did you caution him?
So
the game?
he's grown up. I think he's grown up. I think he's grown up quite a bit.
Yeah. No, he's definitely matured. And after that, he said after that game, I think he got a little bit of media training on what not to do. Don't give one-word answers when the answer is blatantly obvious.
He got hammered by the New York
media.
He got
slaughtered.
Oh, my God.
But, something that is huge, right? Jalen Hurts,
Who do the Jets play this next weekend?
The Jets go up against, next week, what a game, at Giants.
Oh.
New York, it's going to be the Subway Series.
Yeah.
That's going to be a hell of a game. That may appear in the Harvey Hot End. I'm not too sure. I'm curious.
What's the point spread on that?
I was about to look that up. What is exactly the points? How close do you think it is? Or do you think they'll do
the Jets by 3.5?
3.5. I was going to say, do you just give the home team the advantage? So Giants -3.
It's not really, to me, that's not really a home game. I mean, they're playing in the same stadium they both play in.
Oh, sorry. They have a bye this week. Next week, it's Giants.
Next week's the Giants, okay.
The Giants do play, I just saw it. The Commanders. Commanders are only -2 favorites. That is shocking. Commanders -2.
I'm saying the Jets will be favored against the Giants.
I'm hoping. Let's see if I can find a Week 8 early odds. I don't know if I can. I hope I can. Let's see. Is the Miami Herald going to give me what I want? And I believe it can. So I don't know when this was made. The website, October 16th, it was updated. Jets -1.5 on the road.
1.5.
That's what, neutral field. You're -4.5 point favorites.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Jets probably.
Yeah, me too.
Because that defense, Giants don't have a great offensive line. The Jets' offensive line's improving after being
the
terrible.
Giants played well against a very good team in the Bills.
I will give you that. I will give you that.
We'll see how they do against the Commanders, who won this past weekend.
I think
Sam Howell is showing that he's not such a bad quarterback either, even though he's getting sacked right and left.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's bad.
He actually has a pretty good arm. He throws a lot of balls. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our Thursday picks. So it is the Jacksonville Jaguars up against the Saints. If you saw the graphic out of the break, you kind of saw a little bit of a clue there. But we do have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the New Orleans Saints. These Saints are -1 point favorites. I think that is due to the uncertainty of whether or not Trevor Lawrence is a good to-go player. So let's mark up. I will go first as per usual. And you know what? I'm trusting that Trevor Lawrence is in there. And so I will take the Jacksonville Jaguars to pull out with this win 24-20. What we've seen the past couple weeks of them making big-time plays, capitalizing on defense, forcing Gardner Minshew into 3 interceptions, as well as Trevor Lawrence in this offense getting going. You go up against the Bills in London, you take care of them. I believe it was 25-20. That may be wrong. But still, though, is London your home, or are you actually back in playing very, very well? I'll take the latter of that and say you're back. I think, generally the past 2 seasons, we saw that the Jaguars have started off extremely, extremely slow, but then build back, build better, and keep moving forward. Could this be the start a little bit earlier in the season of when they get going? I think it is. I will take the Jaguars to win behind a Saints team that struggles to score, that Derek Carr struggles to put up yards, put up points. I will take the Jacksonville Jaguars to upset the Saints and win 24-20.
I agree. The Jaguars are going to win. I have it 20-17.
There you go. Those were our Thursday picks. Now, it's going to be crazy. We got, I believe it's game 2 of the NLCS, Phillies and Diamondbacks. I think they hit 3 home runs in this past game. I really can't get MLB playoffs. You pick the better team, and at least this season, the top 5 teams, record-wise, are all gone.
Yeah.
They're all gone. My World Series pick got eliminated in the first round. I can't believe that.
I can't believe the Braves got knocked out so early.
Hey.
It happened to them, they won
season.
last year.
The Phillies won.
Phillies won it last year.
I believe it was in the same
NLDS.
NLDS.
It was the same. They can't beat the Phillies.
Can't beat the Phillies.
Yeah, it's in their division, too.
Well, then the Phillies go up against the fact that the Dodgers lost to the Diamondbacks. Clayton Kershaw had a horrible game. Had an absolutely, I think he scored like 6. They gave up 6
What
runs.
happened to Mookie Betts?
Freddie Freeman.
Yeah. What happened to those guys?
Disappear against a superior team. Supposedly.
Now, is it the Phillies or a wild card team, right? They're a wild card team. Yeah, because the Braves won the division.
Yeah.
So they're playing. They started this series at the Diamondbacks, and the Phillies beat them, right? So they've taken the home field away from them.
You mean the Diamondbacks started in the Phillies?
No, the Diamondbacks.
Right now it's Diamondbacks at Phillies.
Oh, really? I thought that the Diamondbacks were a wild card team too.
The Phillies had a better record than the Diamondbacks did.
They're both wild card.
Phillies went 90-72. Diamondbacks went 84-78. The Diamondbacks early in the season were actually winning in the NL West.
Yeah.
And then they fell apart a little bit. Let's make a random Game 2 prediction. TBS, 8:07 p.m. Phillies, according to ESPN Analytics, which I don't know if I trust, because if you took a look at that Knicks-Heat series, the Knicks were like 70% winners in like every single game, even in Miami. So I don't know if I could trust ESPN Analytics, but the Phillies are favored to win 57.7% to 42.3%.
I agree with that.
Merrill Kelly up against Aaron Nola. Who you got in this game?
I got the Phillies.
Even though I picked the Diamondbacks, Aaron Nola.
He's good.
Yeah, he went 2-0. I believe this is in the playoffs. 1.42 ERA.
Yeah.
He pitched 12 innings. He has 12 strikeouts. I want the Diamondbacks to win the series, but if I picked the first series, I picked with my head, not my heart. This series, I picked with my heart, not my head. I may get the Rangers pick right, but I have to agree with you. If I'm playing to be right, you're going to be right.
Yeah.
I want the Diamondbacks to win, but I don't think they will. Yeah. Same reason I gave for the Dodgers. And
we'll see. Maybe I'll watch a little bit of that game.
It's definitely going to be an interesting one to watch. And hey, Phillies need to get revenge. They got snubbed last season against the Astros. It could be their time to shine this one. Kyle Schwarber. Red Sox do miss him.
Yeah.
Should have paid him.
You know what? His batting average is like nothing, but he has tons of homers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just gets up there. It's either a homer or a strikeout.
That's that vintage power hitter. Yeah. Was it Chris Davis of, I'm pretty sure I got his name right, the Orioles. Strikeout or home run.
Yeah, well,
that's how he played.
He basically was in the last 5 years of his career was just strikeouts. He didn't even hit the home runs.
Well, when he hit it was going yard.
Yeah.
It was going yard. So, I believe that does wrap up today's episode of the Harvey Hour. It was a pretty good show today. Friday, big week. We got week 7 of the NFL season coming up. A lot of great teams, a lot of great options. Hopefully, I'll rebound in my Harvey hot hand. But for today's episode of the Harvey Hour on a Tuesday, my name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the Harvey Hour. Catch us 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday right here on YouTube.
Hi, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN